welcome to Zakiya Larry Live. This is a very special edition. We are on location here in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, what's so special about Memphis, Tennessee? It's my hometown. You can say hello to my little cousin, Sahara. If you're watching on Facebook, you're able to see my family. You're able to see my hometown. And shout out to my brother for being my videographer. But listen, I'm on site in Memphis, Tennessee. We are at our family gathering. For us, our nuclear family is not just my parents and my sibling, but also my family includes my cousins and their kids and all that good stuff. So this is so super exciting to me, and you know, this is very much an American summer, right? So I would love for you to use hashtag ZLLive and talk to me about your family traditions. What do you like to do with your family, especially in the summer? This show is all about celebrating American power, American ingenuity, American dreams. What does that mean? Well, coming up today, I have some historic interviews. Do you remember the film Hidden Figures? Of course you do. Blockbuster hit historic numbers. And speaking of historic, here's what's so super cool. On the show today, we will have the author of the book, Hidden Figures, Margot Lee Shetterly. As a matter of fact, she was also the executive producer of this blockbuster film. Cannot believe it. But wait, there's more. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Do you remember the character Taraji P. Henson played in the movie Hidden Figures? You remember that? Katherine Johnson, she portrayed Katherine Johnson, the human computer. Well, guess what? Right here, live, in her own words, on Zakiya Larry Live, we will hear words of wisdom and insight about what kept the Katherine Johnson going. Yes, absolutely. Katherine Johnson, the human computer, will be on Zakiya Larry Live talking about faith, family, her own American dream. You have got to stay tuned for this. But before we go any further, it is my favorite segment, and you already know what that is.
Wait, what?
So I love Wait What, because it's just like random things that are happening that make you stop and say, wait, what? So here's my question for you. I need to hear your wait what. Use hashtag ZLLive to tell me this. But what's something that has made you stop and say, wait, what? When you have tried to host a ton of people, a ton of family, and maybe you had to get creative, and maybe something really weird happened while you were being creative that made you say, wait, what? As a matter of fact, let me give you a quick example. So as you see, it's a ton of us here, and we are playing bingo, and we ran out of bingo chips. And so we looked around and we were saying, how on earth can we make sure almost 40 people can play bingo and we have run out of chips? What can we use to make sure everybody gets a chance to play bingo? Well, listen, if you're watching on Facebook Live or if you're watching on ZakiyaLarryLive.com, I'm going to show you how we improvise. This is hilarious, okay? So, we took our bingo cards and then out of aluminum foil, we made little bingo chips.
Wait, what?
Listen, I gotta tell you, I won the very second bingo game here today using these aluminum random bingo chips. So use hashtag ZLLive and talk to us a little bit about what have you done that was so random to keep the fun going for your family.
My fondest 4th of July memory is when my dad almost burnt down the house. So it was his first time grilling and he didn't know what to do, so he burnt the food. So we had fireworks, like literally. So that was like my fondest memory. So that was hilarious to me.
For today's Wait.
Wait, what?
You're gonna wanna stay tuned for Margot Lee Shetterly, author of Hidden Figures.
I had no idea how far the book and the story would travel, how broadly it would be received, how enthusiastically that it would be received, that it would be turned into a movie. You know, none of that I knew when I first started writing this.
The Katherine Johnson, the human computer that inspired the stories in Hidden Figures. This is so exciting. The iconic historic Peabody Hotel. Yay, hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. How cool is this? Hey, I don't know if we're going to see the ducks today. The last time I was at the Peabody Hotel was about 2 to 3 years ago for my big cousin's wedding. And now I'm with that same big cousin hanging out. We're heading to a rooftop party. So this is the stuff holidays are made of. You may hear squeaking in the background. That's because we are celebrating summer and I am on location in Memphis, Tennessee. Woo! Memphis, Tennessee is my hometown. I was born and raised here and I am having a family gathering and it's so amazing. It is my cousins and uncles and aunts and of course my mother and brother. And it's about 40 of us, and we just hang out every single day. We have good food, lots of fun, and I asked before the break, what are some things that you love doing with your family, and what are some of your family traditions? How will you be celebrating? Use hashtag ZLLive and talk to me about that and let me know.
Hey, I'm Selena Hill, and one of my favorite memories on the 4th of July is spending time with my family. Every year we would get together and do a big birthday barbecue for my great uncle. So I always have those memories with me.
Hello from the Jones Wright household. The 4th of July has always been a fun time in our family. We always get together with family, friends, and food, and we have the most fun celebrating the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. We get myself, my son, Duke, and Emma. Happy 4th of July. Say happy 4th of July, Duke.
Hey, what's going on? It's Vince B, Vibe and Vision recording artist and president for Vibe and Vision Studios. And my most fondest memory for 4th of July will be just being with my mom, my brothers, going to see Rush Hour 2 in Oakland, California. We went to Jack London Square. You know, we had some nice food. We went to Casper's, which is a hot dog joint out in California. And it was just a great day. You know, the Delta breeze was beating down on us, and we just had a wonderful time. So that would have to be my most fondest memory. Of course, at the end of the day, we saw fireworks and everything like that. So that would probably have to be my best memory.
I'm having a blast. Yes, I am an adult and I'm on the swing sets, and my cousin and my little cousins and big aunts are having a swinging competition. So this is what vacation is all about. This is what love and family is all about. And I gotta tell you, this is what keeps me going.
Please back away from your radio.
It's Zakiya Larry Live. Real life, real talk, real change. Wait, what?
Are we on air?
Hey, it's Zakiya Larry, and you're listening to Zakiya Larry Live on KYND 1520 AM.
What's your name, please?
It's Zakiya Larry.
That's right, we said it and we're proud of it.
I can't. Everybody has a past, so together we'll use all of it to unlock your purpose. This is real life, real talk, real change. It's Zakiya Larry Live.
1520 KYND.
Hey, go refresh your coffee or send that quick email and come right back. There's more coming up next on Zakiya Larry Live.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, my name is Les Brown, and I want to invite you to join me on KYND Monday from 9 o'clock until 10. It's radio that is designed to help you to live your dreams rather than your fears. A lot of people are talking about what's going on in the White House. I say focus on what's going on in your house. We're going to teach you how to begin to overcome your fears, how to identify the goals that you want to achieve and make them happen, and how to begin to get negative, toxic people out of your life. You have something special. You have greatness within you. Listen to me Monday from 9 o'clock until 10 on KYND. You have something special. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hi, this is James Dixon, your host for Empower Talk Live, right here on the fabulous KYND 1520 AM. And wow, do I have a show for you coming up on Monday, July 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. The amazing Slim Thug, the artist, rapper, and entrepreneur, along with Johnny Hollins and Boss Life Construction, will be my guest. We'll talk about urban economic development and empowerment and why it's important for all of us to be engaged with creating our own economic wealth building system. And you might need it home. Join me and Paris Ely right here on Empower Talk Live on July 17th. Slim Thug, James Dixon, it's going to be powerful.
Hi, this is Nicole R. Coleman, host of the new show, Super Bold Live. Each week, I will feature real people just like you that have stepped out on faith, overcome fear, and made bold moves that transform their lives. We are creating a community of game changers. Listen in each week and let's help you unleash the power within. Bold talk, bold impact, bold transformation. Be sure to connect with me at www.livesuperbold.com.
Super Bowl Live with Nicole R. Coleman, Tuesdays, 7 to 8 p.m. on 1520 KYND.
We are on location here in Memphis, Tennessee.
I have a special treat for you. We're talking about hidden figures, but let me tell you, I have on the line with us live in the building today, Margot Lee Shetterly, author of Hidden Figures, The American Dream and the Untold Story of the Black Women Mathematicians Who Helped Win the Space Race. Now, you know the blockbuster film, and you've learned the story of these incredible women who helped launch a most incredible program. Understand that this is not an understatement. Good morning, Margot. How are you?
Great, Zakiya. Good morning. How are you today?
I am doing very well, and in large part because you have taken the time out to spend time with us here at Zakiya Larry Live. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really, it's a real pleasure to be on the show.
Margot, I'd love to jump right in here because on the show we talk a lot about people finding their core and understanding that our past shapes who we ultimately become, but it doesn't necessarily have to define it in a negative way. Will you tell us a little bit about your background, not just professionally, but even a bit about growing up? I think it's fascinating. You did not develop an interest necessarily in NASA a few years ago with the writing of this book and the research process. I believe your father was even a NASA research scientist, right? How did that play into your experience and interest in Black women in STEM and leading up to the writing of this book?
Right. So as you mentioned, I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, and my father worked at NASA. My mother was an English professor at Hampton University, which plays a role in this story. And so for growing up, for me, a lot of these women, Katherine Johnson and Mary Jackson and, the many other Black women and the larger group of women, mathematicians, engineers, and scientists working at NASA, they were people in my community. They were people that I knew because they worked with my father, or perhaps they had gone to school with my mother or were in her sorority. So I was really fortunate that I got to see these women as normal people, that they were scientists, they were mathematicians, but they were also normal people and a part of my community. So it was it took, obviously leaving Hampton, Virginia to understand that was something of an unusual circumstance, but I couldn't have been more fortunate to have grown up with those kinds of role models all around me. And so in many ways, Hidden Figures is my origin story.
Your origin story. I love that. You just mentioned something really interesting, that you didn't realize the magnitude of this environment until you left Hampton, Virginia. What was that pivotal moment that made you stop and say, wow, this is a story to be told. This is an incredibly unique environment, and I will be the one to tell it?
Well, like so many things in life, somebody from outside sees something that you can't see because you're too close to it. In this case, it was my husband. We were visiting my parents back in 2010, and we were listening, riding around with my dad, listening to him talk about some of the women who had worked at NASA, for whom he had tremendous respect, and among them, Katherine Johnson. Oh, she calculated the launch window for the astronauts. Of course, everybody does that, right? Very casually.
Of course. Sure.
And my husband was just like, "This is an amazing story. I can't believe it. I've never heard this story." And for me, having grown up there and having heard the story, kind of knew the women. Maybe I didn't really know the story, of course, until I started working on this. But there was a moment to look with fresh eyes at this history that happened in my backyard.
Speaking of looking at this with fresh eyes, how long did it take you to write this book that has ultimately shifted popular culture, starting even with the history lesson? How long did this story take to write?
Well, the first interview with Mrs. Johnson happened at the end of 2010, and I delivered the final manuscript for my book at I think it was the end of July of 2016.
Wow.
So it was almost 6 years of writing and researching.
Margot, was there ever a moment within the 6 years that you thought, this may not turn into the book that I want it to be? It really was a very organic process. I mean, there was never any doubt in my mind that I would finish the book. There was never a doubt that I would bring to it, everything that I could and give it my best, and that it was a great story worth telling. And then along the way, I think what you have to do is allow for an organic process, because I didn't know all of the story. I knew the ending of the story. I guess I consider myself to be really the product of this story, given the fact that my father went to Langley and he stood on the shoulders of these women. Wow.
So I knew how the story ended, and it was really a matter of figuring out how the story began. So I really had to be open to it, and I really approached the research as if I didn't know what was going to happen, to stay very open to the women as they were at that time, very honest to the language of the time, to the attitudes of the time, to the aspirations of the time. I really tried to move through the historical record with as open a mind as I could, and let the story reveal itself to me, as opposed to imposing what I wanted on the story.
In this microwavable society, it's really interesting and refreshing to hear that you allowed this organic flow, and you were incredibly research-based while still allowing the stories of the people to be very present. And so thank you for that. Thank you so much for showing us the steadfastness in the process to create an incredible, incredible story.
Well, I think that one of the things that was really, that I was very sensitive to, well, there are a few things. One is that I really didn't know what happened. And so I had to look at every single piece of evidence along the way and examine it and figure out how to incorporate it into the story. I didn't know what happened, so I had to approach it with the idea that every single bit of research might be the key to the story. So, I think that was one thing. And the other thing that I was also very sensitive to is that here's a story about black women mathematicians at NASA. And it's the kind of thing that people say, well, how could that be true? I've never heard that story before. How come I don't know about it? It was extremely important to me that I provide absolutely every piece of documentary evidence that existed, so that everyone reading this book knows that this is a true story. This is not fiction. This is not fantasy. These are real people who really lived. This is the evidence of their work and their lives, and I was sensitive to that, and knew that this story really had to be corroborated as well and as rigorously as it was possible for me to do that.
Right. So to that point, Margot, being very sensitive to the stories and to the accuracy, did you know when you were beginning this work that this was noble, necessary, needed work? And was your goal to shift some of the perceptions in America? Did you know that this was it when you sat down to write?
That was very much a part of the reason why I wrote this book. I had no idea how far the book and the story would travel, how broadly it would be received, how enthusiastically that it would be received, that it would be turned into a movie. You know, none of that I knew when I first started writing this. What I did know is that the popular perception of Black culture, Black working people, Black professionals, you know, even within the Black community, is so limited. You know, we have these very extreme portrayals, I believe, of African Americans where, you know, on the one end you see, you know, the sort of the worst stereotypes, you know, where, you know, this Donald Trump thing of all Black people are living in, you know, a block called Hell Street, and it's horrible, right? This like absolutely one-sided portrayal. On the other side, I think, you know, and I think this has a tendency to come from within the Black community. You know, we paint these superheroes who are just perfect and they're amazing and they're, you know, the first and only stories, and, you know, that these people that even though they were real people, the way we tell their stories, they are so perfect and so lofty that they seem inaccessible. You know, we want them to be perfect, whereas the reality is most life happens between those two extremes, and we don't get to see that. You know, it's rare that we get to see the sort of just normal people, you know, just people just living. People going to school, people who love their jobs, people who are taking care of their kids, people who are sitting down with their friends and playing cards, whatever it is, you know, I feel like popular culture has been very stingy with its portrayal of what we might call just normal Black life. And so that's how I grew up. I think a lot of us, you know, have just the experience of just living, just being people.
Right.
And that is very much what I wanted to show in this book. People who are African American, people who were women, people who were scientists, and all of those things at the same time, and who had, you know, the same kinds of personal issues and family lives and, you know, conflicts and struggles that all of us have. So, you know, the protagonists in the story are women, so that makes it a women's story. They're Black, that makes it a Black story. They're American, though. That makes it an American story. And I think that these women are the kinds of protagonists that, regardless of your background, there's something about them and the arc of their story that appeals to just about everyone.
Absolutely, and I think that the numbers agree with you. Number one New York Times bestseller, and an historic blockbuster film. So, Margot, being a journalist, I'm sure you understand that these stats are also corroborating the fact that this is an American story, and it also reaches into different segments that are needing this sort of portrayal. So, what's incredible to me is that you are elevating the human element of the superhuman. One of the things that I enjoy is being able to see these women as wives, as mothers, particularly in a society that still would like a woman to choose one or the other. And I think you helped us to understand brilliantly the true journey of living. So that's one of my most favorite parts of how you were able to craft this entire story. So, Margot, you started with the book, and now it is a landmark film that you're one of the executive producers on, right?
Yes.
How did that process come to fruition, and was there ever a moment where you stopped and said to yourself, what just happened?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm still asking myself what just happened. So it was, from the very beginning, I think it's a real testament to the power of these women and their story that it kind of moved through from being an idea to a book proposal to a book to a film, like a freight train. This sort of network of book scouts, people whose job it is to find literary properties that might make good films. So she was able to shepherd this proposal onto the desk of a woman named Donna Gelati. She's one of the a handful of truly powerful women in Hollywood who can get a film like this made. And she called me up after having read the proposal and said, "We're going to make a movie." Mind you, this wasn't even a book at the time. But she really had the vision. Yeah, it was still a book proposal. I was still writing. She really had the vision, and she really identified with the strength and the mobility and the inspirational nature of these women that I was writing about. And she became a champion for Hidden Figures. And so when people ask, well, how is it that the book came out in September and the movie came out in December, when books that are been optioned for years don't get made, it's because everyone needs a champion, as we know from these women. And, the champion for the film in this case was Donna Gelati.
Incredible. Margot, before we wrap up and watch you go back into the world to continue to create historic change in so many lives, let's touch on a bit of your story, because you've been so polished and very clear and respectful in telling this American story. What in you drove you to keep going? And surely there were external factors, family and obligations. How were you able to manage being Margot Lee Shetterly and creating a historic work that was moving like a freight train, even in the creation process?
Well, I think like is the case with these women, so much of it comes from having positive, strong people around you. My parents, who really this is their story, they went to historically black colleges. My dad worked at NASA. My mom is a graduate of Hampton University, and she also taught there. They are from that world of interlocking African American social organizations and Greek organizations and black colleges that provided the support that really allowed these women to do their work. So my parents and my family has been incredible. And I'm really blessed with an amazing husband, who is also a writer. So he and I, talked about this story. He has met everyone in the story. He is just someone who has read every single draft of the book. My dogs, you can hear them in the background. They have been very supportive as well.
It's a family endeavor. Welcome. We love this. We love it.
Yes. I think there's a cat over there. Anyway, so the thing is, I have had just, incredible support. The families of these women have been just great. And, I think that every good project needs champions, and I have had more than my fair share.
Absolutely. Margot, is there anything else you'd like to add about your process?
Stay right there. We will be back with more on Zakiya Larry Live.
Zakiya Larry Live in the building.
In a world where the divorce rate is at an all-time high, we're here to offer you real-life relationship advice to help you navigate to and through your marriage.
Whether you're single or married, join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for your Love Empowerment Hour with our new show,
Sitting with the Suttons, where we're all about strengthening our community by making marriage great again. Find us on Facebook at Tristan and Cece. Whether you're single or married, join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for your Love Empowerment Hour, Sitting with the Suttons.
Sitting with the Suttons, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. on 1520 KYND.
We are so excited at KYND to have back the hit show Do What I Say, featuring Dr. Polly Heil-Neely. Doc, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, we're a holistic healthcare clinic. We do everything holistic at Abundant Health and Wellness Clinic, and that's located at 323 East Main Street in downtown Humble, Texas. Or you can call us 281-312-2860.
Tune in every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on KYND.
You can change your life. Zakiya Larry live in the building.
I have on the line with us live in the building today.
I would say the thing is people like science and writing. I think people think that writing talent or science talent are something that's innate, that there is a certain amount of genius associated with that. And certainly, it helps to be really good at math if you want to be a mathematician. Helps to be, have a love of language or an understanding of language if you want to be a writer. But so much of everything is just pure hard work. And knowing that if you keep doing something, you will become better at it. And that was one of the things that was really empowering for me, is to start with this process of writing a book and not really understanding what it was going to take, or how much time it would take, or how difficult it would be, but just knowing that if you keep working hard and if you have good people around you supporting you through that hard work, then you're going to get where you're going. It might take longer than you thought. It might hurt a little bit. There are going to be times when you're disappointed and you feel like you can't push through where you want to get. But if you just keep working hard and you have that support around you, that is genius. You know what I mean? That's really,
absolutely.
I think that's genius right there. You don't have to just be born Einstein in order to turn yourself into a brilliant scientist, or be born Toni Morrison to turn yourself into a brilliant writer.
Thank you. Amazing. We will take those words to heart, tuck them away, and continue to support work like yours, Margot, and great American stories that are shifting how we see ourselves, how we see each other, and how we approach our goals. Thank you so much, Margot, for joining us this morning.
Zakiya, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the show.
Thank you. And please give your fur babies a hug for me, because now I'm intrigued with them. We'll have to have them back on the show next time.
They talk a lot, and they have they've been there as well. So nothing like walking the dogs to give you some good space to think about your writing.
Absolutely. So we thank them too, Margot. Have a great morning.
I will let them know.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
You are listening to Zakiya Larry Live, and you know that this is an epic, iconic show. One, because we are recognizing the hidden figures, not just profiled in the film, not just inspired, or rather revealed through the book Hidden Figures, but we're talking about hidden figures in our own lives and legacy building through the work that you do that may not be seen until years or even generations from now. And so, in keeping with this entire concept, I have a figure that may be hidden to some of us, but not a whole lot of us. So I am so excited to bring on our next guest, Mayor Donnie Tuck. And I got to tell you, he is a leader and trailblazer in the Hampton area. Why is that so important? Because obviously when you've heard Margot Lee Shetterly talk about her experience growing up in the Hampton, Virginia area and where these hidden figures first entered her life, obviously Hampton was the hotbed for all of this excellence. And then, of course, when you hear from Mrs. Katherine Johnson, of course, you know she was portrayed by Taraji P. Henson. Hampton is the ecosystem that helped breed and grow this iconic moment that we're having in our current space. And so I'm so excited to have the leader of the iconic Hampton, Virginia area. Good morning, Mayor Donnie Tuck.
Good morning to you, and let me get my feet back on the ground after that introduction.
Hey, this show is all about elevation, so I love that you said you might have to get your feet back on the ground. But if you'll just stay up there, just stay up there elevated, Mayor, I love it. I can live with it.
Well, thank you very much. And it's kind of interesting. I was listening to your introduction, and actually I used to be a member of the church that Margot Lee Shetterly used to attend with her parents. And, in fact, I knew her when she was still might have been just a young college student. So to see her lately within maybe the last 2 years and see what she's accomplished, I've really been surprised. But I used to always ask her mother about how she was doing. And actually I think she has 2 other sisters in different places in the country. And Margot has really done a lot of fantastic things, and we're very, very honored to be the city that she was born in and has brought such fame, not only to Hampton but also to Nassau Langley.
Absolutely. So, Mayor Tuck, to that point, because you brought up several elements here, you really just illustrated for us community and family and how where we come from really helps to nurture where we're ultimately going. And so I think it's so incredible that you have that story of being church members and just checking in on you, seeing how you're doing. How important is that checking on someone and keeping touch points even from childhood and on, even if you have no idea they're going to shift the landscape of your country?
Well, let me offer this. I am not a native Hamptonian. I was actually born in Chapel Hill, and I've been living in this region since 1990 and actually been living in Hampton since 2002. It's a very close-knit community, at least Hampton is, and some people tell you that you're not considered to be a Hamptonian unless you're born here. But folks are very, very proud of the folks who grow up here and who go off, and some come back. But generally the ties across the years are very, very strong. And, again, it's just a very prideful area. And the people born here just, they talk about being some people being born here and other people being come here.
Right. I love that. I'd like to talk a little bit about your leadership. Why did you decide to run for mayor? Because you shared with me, and you can obviously, of course, share with our listeners, that you definitely served your community as a council member before you had the opportunity to become mayor, which, congratulations, we're excited. So why did you decide to take on this role?
Well, actually, believe it or not, it was actually the senior population in our city that felt that I'd become their champion in addressing certain issues that they had, and they encouraged me to run, and it worked out. It was surprising. I mean, I upset an incumbent mayor by about 20 points, and so that was unexpected. But it's been I've actually completed my first year on the 1st of July of this year, and it's been an exciting time. It really has. It's been very, very busy. It's full-time work for part-time salary. But I really enjoy interacting with the residents, with the different business leaders. I make a point of going to the schools and reading to children and just being at their events. And I go to different civic league meetings and things like that. So I've been very, very visible, and I just enjoy the interaction with people. I guess I'm a people person, and so that makes it easy to be engaged in what I do.
Right. I love what you're sharing about being engaged and being a people person. But what's really jumping out to me, Mayor Tuck, is that the senior population really catapulted you into your current position. So I'm going to draw a parallel here for our listening audience, because here on Zakiya Larry Live, obviously I have a nice millennial following, but I also speak to other demographics, because at the end of the day, we all need to find our core and then elevate into awareness of ourselves and elevate into a better state of being. So, to that point, that's just a little context for our listeners here. To that point, a generation that you don't seem to be a member of was a huge champion for you. And now what's so interesting is that very same generation has a massive star that has always been among you, but has just streaked across the sky of the American consciousness. Can you talk to us a little bit about reaching across generations and this star that you have, the multiple stars, pardon me, the supernovas that you have in your midst right now, and how that has affected your term?
Stay right there. We will be back with more on Zakiya Larry Live.
Zakiya Larry live in the building.
The power is here. KYND brings you star power. Yolanda Adams.
Can I tell you how excited we are about being at KYND?
Les Brown.
On KYND, you have something special. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Rushion McDonald.
Show some love. Show some love. We're trying to make it sound big up in this joint.
Access the power at KYNDradio.com.
I have on the line with us live in the building today, Mayor Donnie Tuck.
I first became aware with her, I think, just maybe over 2 years ago, when there is a young woman here who has a project. It's called the Sankofa Project, and I think because she's also an AKA member, she chose to honor and recognize Dr. Johnson at a function at our Hampton Museum. And it was the first time, but I was not aware at the time, I guess, that she had also been honored by President Obama with the President's Distinguished Citizen Medal, which is like the highest award you can give to a person who's non-military. And so actually as a city, we were kind of falling behind that. So I think it was also maybe in the early spring of 2015 or maybe later that year that the previous mayor and vice mayor recognized her with our Distinguished Citizens Medal. Then in 2016, a number of things happened, but one of the things was a dedication of a bench in her honor, and this was done on her 98th birthday, which is, I think, in August. And so that was done last year. And then it's just been a succession of different things related to NASA Langley realizing that they had this gem in our midst. And part of that was because of, again, the book Hidden Figures and then the movie, and that made so many more people aware. So for me, I've been kind of pulled along because I'm mayor, and there are all these different events to recognize her, such as the groundbreaking for the Katherine Johnson Computational Center, which will actually open later this year.
Okay, I understand as a leader, you get to know your constituents, and you know them a lot differently than the rest of the world, especially with Dr. Katherine Johnson, who is appearing on our show later today. Woo, so excited. You know something about her that most of us don't know, and it has nothing to do with math and science.
I have two older church members, who are former church members, who kind of regard me as their adopted son. And one of the women told me that, and she's a renowned vocalist in the area, she told me that Dr. Johnson used to play piano for her. She was her accompanist. And they used to travel to different churches and different venues. And so when I saw Dr. Johnson the next time, I mentioned it to her and just brought this really big smile to her face.
Thank you, Mayor Donnie Tuck, for bridging the gap with generations, preserving and elevating the history of Hampton, and for hanging out with us this morning on Zakiya Larry Live.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
So I'm standing right outside of the historic Peabody Hotel. My family and I are going to head in and enjoy a rooftop party. But before I do that, I gotta just tell you, you want to hang on and hear what the human computer Katherine Johnson has to say about her own faith and her own family that helps launch her into her career, launching men on the moon and effectively changing the course of American and world history.
Mrs. Johnson, I know a lot of people talk to you about the film Hidden Figures, but that's just a small part of who you are and what you do. I know you are a woman of passion. Will you talk to us about your passion for mathematics and how you were able to basically shape history because you loved what you did?
All the above. Well, I enjoyed math because it's exacting. It's either right or you're wrong. There's no in between.
Why is teaching and nurturing generations coming behind you important to you?
Because it's important that it be done. Somebody has to do it.
Right.
So you don't horse around. You get in there and do what has to be done.
So to your point, because this is compelling to me, you just mentioned you do what has to be done. And yes, ma'am, as a mother of 3, grandmother of 6, great-grandmother of 11, how on earth, Mrs. Johnson, were you able to maintain a family as well as maintain your career? Because a lot of young people are struggling with that.
It was just something that I had to do. Somebody had to do it, and I was right there.
Absolutely.
So I did it.
Right. Did you call on other people to help you? Did you have to have a strong community around you?
I didn't have to have one, but it's nice to have help if you need it. But you need to have the courage to ask people to help you. And if they say yes, you go with it. If they say no, you get somebody else. It's as simple as that.
Wow. You have to have the courage to ask for help. Wow. I love that. I need to get more courage asking for help. So you've seen a lot, obviously, from a historic standpoint in your career. Has there been anything that has been the most surprising to you that you've seen, be it a technology change or a shift in our society? What has surprised you the most throughout your lifetime?
I can't say anything surprised me most, but I assume that everybody is doing what they should be doing, and so should I. And we proceeded on that theory, and I had help where I needed it. Where I didn't have it, I proceeded without him.
Yes, ma'am. Now, my last question is for the people who are in the middle of their careers, who are looking to you for inspiration. Should they be focused on a career hoping to change the world like you did? Is it possible to even know that when you start out?
No, of course, you don't know how important things will be. But I assume that whatever is asked of me is important at the time. I did my best, which is all anybody that's ever asked to do.
I put a lot of faith in you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building.
They weren't going fast enough for me. I just moved on.
Absolutely. Mrs. Johnson, thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to add that we should know about pursuing our dreams or changing the future?
Whatever you think is important at the time, proceed with it. No matter what other people have to say, you go with what you think is important. You don't tell them that what they think is not important. You just proceed. Go right along. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. Thank you so much for your time, Mrs. Johnson.
Oh, but no problem whatsoever. Glad at any time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we're a member of the same sorority, so I am definitely proud and honored to have this chat with you.
Thank you.
I gotta just tell you, after Katherine Johnson, I know you will be inspired. I know you will be so excited to continue your own American dream.
So guys, you know I'm all about real life,
Real talk, real change. And so let's get a little bit of that right now. This show has been celebrating a lot about July 4th and talking a lot about Independence Day and family and faith. And I still believe in those things. But here's the truth. I didn't grow up celebrating the 4th of July because there is a parallel truth here. July 4th, 1776. We all know that's when the U.S. of A. was born and we're no longer part of the British Empire. My ancestors were not free, not even close to it. So that date means something very different for America's own people. So here's the thing. January 1st, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Woo! And that's when a lot of folks are saying slavery ended. But guess what? That was a Civil War executive order that freed slaves only in parts of the South. And so folks in other sections were left in bondage, and folks in the rest of the Confederacy weren't free at all because President Lincoln did not even control those areas. And so now let's fast forward to June 1865. Juneteenth. Woohoo! We just had a big celebration in Texas because that's when, and I'm going to stop saying slaves, that's when enslaved Africans in America in Galveston, Texas, actually heard of the Emancipation Proclamation. They finally found out about it. But guess what? By then, that executive order was thought to be unenforceable, and the 13th Amendment had been passed by Congress and sent to the states for approval, and it got landlocked in that thing for quite some time. December 1865, Alabama became the 27th state to ratify the 13th Amendment. Basically, what that means is finally, the majority of states' approval happened to make it the law of the land. So on December 18th, the 13th Amendment was officially adopted into the Constitution. So guess what? July 4th, 1776 is quite different from December 1865. And in order to be indivisible, we have to come together. And so I honor both July 4th and I honor December 1865 when everyone in America truly experienced freedom.
As you know, it's Zakiya Larry Live. We are live on location in Memphis, Tennessee, and check this out. I'm standing right outside of the historic Peabody Hotel. I will see you next Monday at 10 a.m. It's Zakiya